Can you say Merry Christmas? Say Merry Christmas.
I forgot to unmute my microphone. It makes me very angry when I forget that. All right. Anyway. Hey guys, what's up? I'm Kaiser Pineapple. It is Tuesday, December 20th, and welcome to my pre-Christmas, whatever the hell this ends up being. Excuse me. My voice still sounds terrible. I don't know why, but it does. Hopefully I can kind of knock the rust off the pipes as we go. So anyway, well, yeah, so we're just going to kind of sit here, hang out. I was hoping to see some folks pop in. I don't see anyone has joined in yet, so we're just going to be kind of doing this on our own. Let's see here. Pulling up some information. All right, yep, we're good. All righty. Went ahead and check to make sure my audio is coming through okay. Looks like we're good on that end. All righty. So, tonight we're going to be doing something a little different. There will probably be some painting mixed in here, but it's been a weird week. It's been a weird couple of weeks. There's been some interesting news come down, and I actually want to take a moment to kind of share a few things, talk about some cool stuff, and just kind of see where this goes. So we're just kind of hang a sense of it and have some fun here. So let me adjust that there just a nudge. Maybe get a little bit more height there. So to make sure everything stays all nice and festive, get a little Christmas spirit, if you know what I mean. Today I decided, you know what, I'm going to do something I have not done ever. And, well, frankly, this idea scares even me, but this is one of the last bottles of my homebrew that I made a long time ago. Long enough that I don't remember what beer is in this bottle. And I had hoped that there would be some folks here that I could crack it open and, hang with. But such as it is, I'm still going to drink this. I have one other bottle of this that I'm going to save whenever I figure out what the hell is in this. Save the other one for whenever I rebrew this particular recipe. I think I have an idea of what's in here. If I'm correct, this is going to be good. So, without further ado, this is either going to explode in my face or it'll be fine. I have no idea, and either way, you guys are going to get to enjoy the whatever this ends up being. Yeah, it definitely had some pep to it. No explosion. That's good. Definitely getting some foamage. Definitely a nice dark brown color. Can you tell that I like my dark beers? You know what? Let's go ahead and just fill her out there. That has got a nice thick head on it. I think this is exactly what I was believing it would be. Aside from a couple little chunks of trub, little stuff that settled to the bottom, this is remarkably clear. Ooh, wow. Very, very subtle. Not a whole lot of immediate, like, on the nose. Oh, I got a little bit of caramel, a little chocolate. I believe this is my midnight train out of Dublin Stout. And if that is the case, then this is the beer. This is the exact beer, the exact brew that very nearly got me an award at my first brew competition. So let us see. Yep, that's exactly what I thought it was. No, wait a minute. I'm getting something. I'm getting something on the back end of that taste profile there. That can't be. Where is it? Pardon me. I'm moving this over to my current screen here. I'm conflicted. I think I know which one this is, but I need to double check some notes here. What was the date on that brew? Okay, not that one. Midnight Train out of Dublin, version 1.3. If this is what I think it is. Yep, that's it. This is definitively verified. This is the beer that very nearly won me an award. This is the Midnight Train out of Dublin Stout. It's supposed to be a milk stout, I should say. This is the 1.2 version. And you know, I got some good feedback from the judges on this. And basically the feedback I got, they said for a milk stout, this is really good. They would only make a couple of changes to what we've got there. And basically they said, so I need to use more chocolate malt. I need to add more lactose for sweetness. And then I need to dial back slightly on the black malt. Yeah. This beer was brewed in October of 2018. That means that this beer is 19, 20, 21, 24 years old plus 2 months. This is a 4-year-old Irish stout or milk stout. I can see the notes that they were giving me there. I can understand what they're saying. And I actually agree. But daggone, that is still good. Yeah, at the time I was like, I don't know what they're talking about, but I'm going to take their notes to heart. I'm going to write those down. I did. And I'm glad I did because I retooled it and I have a 1.3 version of this beer that I just never brewed. And that was my eventual goal, was to go ahead and brew that one. All right. Well, that's all well and good. Well, let's see here, because I'm curious. Wonder where everybody's at, because nobody's jumping in. Huh. Oh, yep, that might be why. Say, looks like Mighty Meat is currently streaming. Yep, Valhalla's over there too. Gotcha. Okay. Oh, I get it. Alrighty, well, let's see. I was just kind of curious on that one. I was like, yeah, let me go do some snooping and check that out. All right, well, so everybody right now is obviously interested in the shenanigans and the chicanery going on with the latest Twitter drop. Yeah, that is a whole ass bunch of stuff that I am not going to get into right now. Damn, that's good. All right. So what are we going to do today? So today I kind of thought I would do something maybe a little bit different, maybe a little bit off the usual beaten path. So figure we'll probably do some paint. Like I said, so we'll do some painting here in a little while or something. But mainly I just wanted to sit, chill, talk about some cool stuff that I've seen popping recently and go from there. So let me go ahead and pull up the first item up for bids on The Price is Right. Because this is pretty dang on awesome. All right. So, gonna try to pull this up here. Not sure how well this is gonna go, but we're gonna try this here. All right. So, this is actually going to be quite fascinating to talk about because this is something that I've been interested in for quite a while and have had a lot of fascinating thoughts about. So we're going to go ahead and share tab. All right. Scientists achieved nuclear fusion breakthrough with blast of 192 lasers. Yep. You read that right. We're going to go ahead and move that over there. Okay, so I went ahead and moved the tab over. All right. Adjust my mic or my camera there. So this to me is pretty wild and cool. So the basic gist here is that hang on. There we go. Oh my God. Stop it. Stupid ads. So this has been kind of blowing my mind the last couple of days because for pretty much as long as I can remember, and I was born in 86. I'm currently 36. So what's really interesting here is that basically the problem with fusion generation has been figured out. Fusion power has been one of those things that has just kind of constantly just escaped everybody's ability. It's like we've known since the 40s that nuclear fusion was possible. Now, the problem that we've had is that we cannot create, if my memory serves, and I'll have to double check this, but basically our science was unable to create the heat and pressure necessary to cause a fusion reaction. that's kind of where the problems arose. So apparently, some scientists with the department, basically the Department of Energy, which coincidentally they control the world's, or at least the United States' nuclear nuclear fuel depository. Did not know that. Would have figured that would have been under defense, but it's not. Actually, not a bad idea, really. But essentially, what we're looking at here is the scientists themselves. They came up with this idea of, hey, I just gave myself hiccups. Hold on a moment. Okay, I seem to have gotten that under control. Anyway, so basically what it amounts to is that for the pretty much since we've ever conceived of nuclear fusion, the problem has been we have not had an apparatus capable of creating enough heat or pressure to cause the fusion reaction. That's the gist of it. Well, some wise guys over there basically figured out, hey, why don't we take this tiny little pellet? It's like half the size of a BB of basically radioactive material, uranium of some kind. We bombard it with like a crap ton of lasers, all focused on a single point. And then we can basically heat it up evenly and whatnot to cause the fusion reaction. And lo and behold, it worked. But not only did it work, because I mean, it's one thing to, prove that it's viable, but here in that case, but the question is it a viable means of producing energy? That's where things get fascinating. So they used a special tool. I do not remember the name of it. I apologize. And they essentially were able to gauge how much power was released from this thing when they did this test. And what they concluded, fascinatingly enough, was that they were able to measure a generated power output of the same level that was being put out by the lasers, about 1.5, I think they said 1.5 milliwatts or something like that. I'm not sure. And they were able to get that plus an extra 50% of power generated. So not only did this work, but it worked exceedingly well. And they were able to, whenever they were done, they were able to shut it down and do everything, and everything was rendered safe. And so, yeah, nuclear fusion, people, this is a thing. This is happening. It's crazy to think, because I mean, as if we use the same basic principle, the same basic model, then there is so much potential to basically curb our dependence on fossil fuels, but also in a way that actually does not increase our current amount of nuclear or otherwise waste product. That is incredible. Now that is a major breakthrough that is extremely exciting. Going to be a while before we can make that into a reality for the average household, but with this proof of concept, it means that we actually can get funding and actually do real dedicated research on this now. I see within 20 to 30 years, we could have an actual like fusion generator, like a large scale fusion generator or fusion power plant that goes online to basically test how well it'll do in a real world scenario of power generation. That is going to be awesome because that means that we could literally take all of our existing nuclear power, convert it over and basically shut down the fission reactors, because our current nuclear reactors run on fission, and they do, while their actual output of nuclear waste is exceedingly low. I mean, you could fit the entirety of how much waste would be generated from nuclear power in your lifetime that you would use in this Coke can. Your entire lifetime. That's it. That's all the waste you would produce. And we are actually finding ways to get rid of the existing waste and whatnot, where we are working on that. And believe it or not, fusion is actually one of those methods as far as what I've kind of heard. So you've got the ability to generate power that is, sustainable, economical, and whatnot, and doesn't create all that excess waste and has zero carbon. Okay. Let me be completely honest here. So everybody's going to immediately be like, oh, Kaiser's just one of those like climate change weirdos. No. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm not. In fact, I'm actually quite the enthusiast of fossil fuels because I like fast cars and, big loud engines and things that go rum, 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 rum. But I see the idea and I see the necessity and the need for coming up with ideas that utilize energy sources that are going to be a little bit more, and I should say significantly more environmentally friendly over the long term. Honestly, the United States has already dropped its total carbon emissions over the lifetime. It's like over our lifetime, the last probably 15, 20 years at least, by almost 20%, if not more than 20% at this point. Most other countries have been spiking their emissions up. We've been going down, but yet, we're the great Satan of the world. So, pardon me for being a little bit skeptical in everybody's commitment to environmental whatever. I believe in conservation, not environmentalism. Big difference. Anyway, so let's get into a little bit of this article here, and I'm already bored because I have the attention span of a gnat. How about we do a little something different here, and we allow someone else to explain it for us. Now, love him or hate him, and honestly, I do not like the man's politics by any stretch of the imagination, and I think he makes a way too big a deal over some things, but there is a good opportunity here to explain what this current breakthrough of fusion is. And it's courtesy of Neil deGrasse Tyson. I'm going to try and keep this video just keep it to the cliff notes if I can. But suffice to say, there is some good information in here, and there is kind of a brief rundown of what they're looking at and how cool this is. Because like I said, this is fantastic news. This is awesome. I'm actually super stoked to hear about this. All right. See, setting. Oh, wait, that's the wrong button. Share screen. Share audio. There we go. All right. So, and I forgot to unmute.
So Chuck, what's been bugging you lately?
I'll tell you, I don't know if it's bugging me. Maybe I'm happy about it. maybe the entire human race has something to be hopeful about. You know how I feel about climate and the climate crisis.
Right.
But so I wake up this morning and it's all about fusion. Fusion everywhere. Everybody's talking about fusion. I'm like, whoa, is this a good thing? Or are they yanking my chain? Are they just making me, what are they doing? Are they doing the Lucy pull the football away from me? What are they doing? What is happening? What is happening with the fusion?
So yeah, we're kind of getting into the explanation of what's happening, and Neil here is going to hit the points. Again, I appreciate the fact that they try to keep the political rhetoric to a minimum here and whatnot, and especially considering that I don't particularly ascribe to it. But they're going to hit the points here of this actual information, like why this is a big deal, and this is good news. This is awesome.
Ooh, okay. So the highlight is at one of the national laboratories, Lawrence Livermore National Laboratories, where they among all the national labs are, one of their major tasks is as shepherds of our nuclear arsenal. Okay, the nuclear fuel, basically. So radioactive materials that might be used in weapons, and it is funded by the Department of Energy, not the Department of Defense. So that in fact, the total amount of money we spend on defense is not only the DoD's budget, but an important fraction of the Department of Energy's budget that involves weaponry, basically. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So there they have the world's most powerful laser. And what they do with a bunch of these lasers is they aim them all at a tiny target and they cause the target to explode. All right. That alone is not okay.
Sounds like America so far.
All right. Yeah. We're going to, I forgot about that. I get into the politics a little bit.
Exactly. Like forever. So if the target is uniformly heated, evenly in all directions, and the material is very uniform in all directions, so there would be a spherical shape, then the explosion creates an implosion on the other side of that explosion, right? You can't just have stuff come out unless the Newton's law for every action is an equal and opposite reaction. So the explosion that comes out creates an explosion that points inward.
Okay.
And that creates very high pressure and very high temperature. And under those conditions, you can take two atoms, light atoms, and merge them into a heavier atom.
Sweet.
That takes a lot of high temperature to accomplish, because let's take the lightest atom of them all, which is what?
I don't know, maybe hydrogen.
Hydrogen, you got it. So
hydrogen, which happens to be the same exact element that our sun is made of. You're literally, with fusion energy, creating a miniature star. That's the kind of reaction that you're creating there. And imagine how much energy that thing could really output if we could really, really dial in and hook up to that. That's a cool idea. That's something very interesting. And that's what fusion's been talking about for a long time.
Hydrogen in its nucleus has one proton, and helium in its nucleus has two protons plus two neutrons. So how am I going to create a helium atom from a hydrogen atom? So you got to get a bunch of hydrogen atoms together. All right.
Together.
Well, here's what no one is telling you in the news, but it's obvious when you think about it. What do two protons want to normally do? They're both positive charge.
They like each other, but they don't like each other because they're alike.
Okay.
It's like when you meet somebody at a cocktail party and it reminds you of yourself. And you're just like, I don't like that dude. I don't really like that. I don't want to be over there talking to that dude.
Tucker's still in therapy, people, just so you know.
I know, exactly. It's like, yeah, it's a simple question, Chuck. Where did cocktail parties and liking people come in? Yeah, but they want to get away from each other, right?
So these are like charges. So in the case of two protons, they repel each other. So how do you get them to come together as a new helium nucleus if they want to repel? So this is like rolling a ball up a hill. All right. If you don't give it enough energy, it's not going to reach the top. It's not going to reach the top. Okay.
There you go. So
if you roll it faster and faster, giving it more and more energy, eventually the ball will reach the top and tip and go over and fall on the other side of the hill. That is precisely what's going on with two protons. Here it goes. The two protons want to come near each other, but they repel. Let's boost the temperature, which speeds everything up. They get closer to each other before they repel. Boost the temperature some more. They get even closer. There's a magic temperature at which these protons will come close enough so that an entire new force operates.
This is starting to kind of get interesting, isn't it? It should.
It would have to be a strong force in the nucleus to keep two protons together. In fact, the name of that...
quantum love. That's called quantum love.
Oh, where's that disco? So I remember Jungle Love. Remember Jungle Love? We had quantum love.
Jungle Love.
Yeah, quantum love is like quantum resist. You're there. So when they cross that barrier, a strong force that operates in the nucleus takes over. It's one of the fundamental forces of nature, and it's called strong nuclear force. There it is. Okay, that's what it's called. It is a very short-range force. It only operates on scales as small as the nucleus itself. Wow. But you have to get there for it to grab a hold of you and make a new atom. That's why it takes high density, high pressure, and high temperature to overcome this.
All right, so
that is
I'm with you.
That is thermonuclear fusion. Thermo is hot, nuclear is the nucleus. Fusion, they're bringing it together. It turns out that when you do that, your products have less mass than when you started with.
Whoa.
Oh my gosh. Where did the mass go?
Exactly.
E equals mc squared. My lovely. So the mass on the one side of the equation, if you lose it, it manifests on the other side of the equation as energy.
There you go.
There it is. And so they managed. So at the Lawrence Livermore Laboratories using lasers. And by the way, they led the world in lasers like for decades. In fact, people on the side call it lasers, and lasers. Okay, Lawrence Livermore National Lab. Okay,
lasers, and lasers. That's
lasers, right. So anyhow, so they have managed to. You can add up how much energy it takes to turn on the lasers and fire them, and then look at how much energy comes out after you've done this. And they got 50% more energy out of this than the energy of the lasers that went into it.
That's critical. And they got enough energy back to not only power the lasers, but then they also got an additional 50% more energy. That means that they're getting at least on the total amount of energy invested, they're getting 150% of energy back. So the full 100% they put in plus an additional 50%. That is critical. That means a pretty high, I mean, if you're really thinking about it, that is, you are getting 100% of the energy that you just put into powering those lasers back. And then you get an additional 50% of energy. That is insane. That is literally a power source that operates at, I mean, upwards of 150% efficiency. If this doesn't get you excited for the possibility of having, really taking care of a lot of your power needs for cheap, effective, and actually, environmentally safer, power generation, I don't know what is going to help you there.
That's amazing.
Amazing. First time that's ever happened.
Now that's an energy source now, because you got more out than you got in, which is
Correct.
what I want to know. Which is, so what did it take? What would it be? What did it measure? Like, is it anything significant? And percentage wise, that's great. But like, what would it take to turn
It would
this
be
into
great
an
if it
energy?
just broke even. That would be a major
that's true.
milestone unto itself, right? But the fact that they got 50% more energy out than they put in, it says, oh my gosh, we can get the physics to succeed. And for my money, I'm saying if the physics works, then it's just a matter of time before engineers say, I got this. I'm gonna make something out of that. I got this. And so
that's amazing.
Yeah. And so I very much look forward. There's a civilization pivoting on this result. And by the way, what I just described to you, the sun does every moment of its life. The problem over all these years is, of course, we've known how to make fusion. We've known how to make fusion since what, 1949 or something? When the first fusion bombs were called hydrogen bombs. They're using hydrogen. That's what I just told you. Two protons is merging hydrogen atoms, nuclei together. So we've known how to make fusion forever. The challenge is not how do you make fusion, how do you control it?
Yeah, because you don't want the electric company having to move to a new city because there's no city left.
Right, exactly. So while in America, we're really good at blowing stuff up, we're less good at controlling that explosion, right? So the holy grail was, can we undergo fusion in a controlled way, where one day you might be able to throttle it or contain it or transport it. And we'll finally get maybe that ending scene in Back to the Future.
Right.
Here's your cue, Doc.
Marty, it's your kids, Marty.
And do you remember how, and Marty says, but Doc, where are you going to get the energy? There's no lightning bolt and there's no room for, how are you going to do? And do you remember what he does?
He dumps a bunch of trash into the flux capacitor, which is now powered by fusion.
It's Mr. Home Fusion, right? It was like a blender.
That's right.
He puts it in, and that undergoes nuclear fusion. And so one day, perhaps, we have fusion reactors in every car. And then wow, there it is. So this would transform civilization, even regardless of the carbon footprint that it doesn't have. It would transform civilization, but it also.
You excited yet? You should be. Because I want one of these. Yes, this is a model that I built a long time ago. And it is thoroughly dusty. And yes, this is the Mark I DeLorean. This doesn't have Mr. Fusion on the back. This actually has the original plutonium powered rear end on it. So it does have the license plate though. But yeah, I built this a couple of years ago. Had a lot of fun doing it because I wanted the Mark I. You can see in there, I did the wires and the little clock on the dashboard. So it's hard to see with the camera. It's almost impossible because this is dirty, but you can see the little control box there. It's got the little twist switch on there. Little tie-in, but the whole fusion thing has got me extremely excited. And then I just got an opportunity to show off one of my model kits. So that's that. And yeah, so again, I am extremely excited to hear about that. Then there is something else that recently got dropped. This one a couple of weeks ago on the Joe Rogan Experience about another new potential power generation method and doing some other really interesting things. Let's see if I can find it here. Favorites. I was pretty sure that I saved this. Yes.
Probably the most stunning of all these ancient structures. And the stones are
Yeah. All right, we're going to start from this point and go from there. I'm going to bump that to 1.5, just to 1.25, just to make sure that we have our speed covered.
Nikola Tesla. And he was, again, this is way too much for us to get in today. That's why we need to devote a whole session to talking about this.
Okay, so this is Randall Carlson. If you don't know who Randall Carlson is, you really need to know, because he has been making the rounds. He's a geologist, but he also has been doing some work with another gentleman by the name of Graham Hancock, who is on the same stream as him right now. So Graham kind of rose to prominence with his idea that there is some kind of proof of that we're a species with amnesia, that we lost something a long time ago. And the current prevailing wisdom, at least that he's been kind of going through, is that we lost a part of our collective conscious with regard to ancient technologies, lost civilizations, etc., right around the end of the Ice Age during the Younger Dryas. And that we have like a whole bunch of like shared memories with our ancient folklore, because every country, every group of people, every religion and whatnot has its own basically myth about creation, and that that at some point in their history there was a giant flood. And this is all across the world. So the story of Noah, there's also Quetzalcoatl and others. And it's fascinating to kind of hear him talk about it. And then they're looking at some ideas that kind of put the pyramids into a bit more context. Just some ideas they've had and some rediscovering of ancient technology, ideas that were postulated by Nikola Tesla as he's getting into, that really fundamentally are why a lot of people think that Tesla was, basically they think that he was killed. Now, I mean, obviously I don't have anything to back that up right now, but that's just kind of the prevailing wisdom. But yeah, I'll let Randall explain what he's talking about here, but he's onto something.
Okay. But this was the inspiration. His work was suppressed. A lot of his patents were taken, sealed up by the U.S. government for whatever reason. I don't know. But this is some of the stuff that's now being developed using his ideas, plus some of the others. This is the man I've been talking to for the last 7 years.
Malcolm Bendall?
Yes. And again, I don't want to get into it today, but here's an example of what they're doing. This is a generator that has no moving parts. It's all based on geometry, pure geometry. Mm-hmm. And here's the basic idea, as I think I understand it at this point. Resonance frequencies, everything vibrates. Have you ever, if we had an electric razor, we plugged it in, turned it on, set it on this table, it's going to move around, isn't it? You ever seen that?
Yeah.
That's the beginning of the concept, because it's vibrating. Everything vibrates at a frequency, and if you know that frequency, you can control things. And I think that's the basic idea of what we're looking at here.
That is exciting. And now let me tell you, I've kind of had this idea that for a long time, that I mean, since everything vibrates at like a specific frequency, there's got to be some way of capturing that energy. Tesla was doing this work, years, decades ago. And then not only that, but now we're talking about rediscovering that technology. And it turns out there is more evidence to show that there are civilizations before us. Even maybe the Egyptians had this technology when they built the pyramids of Giza. And they're, of course, they're saying now that the Giza pyramids may be older than we thought that they were. But, I mean, think about that. A generator with no moving parts. That is an incredible idea. Because that's one of the main problems with a lot of machinery, power generation today, is that you have all these moving parts. Those parts wear down over time. They end up being replaced by new ones, or you just end up having to scrap the whole machine altogether and get something that's newer and supposedly better. But what if you have a generator with no moving parts that never really goes bad? Sound kind of crazy, a little science fiction-y? Maybe, but it's true.
And it's all based upon the ancient numbers. And they're developing technologies right now, and they have been. I was recently contacted and given the go-ahead that I could talk. I've been sitting on this for 7 years without talking about it because they asked me not to talk about it until they had their patents in place and their licensing. That's all happened since last summer. So we're now free to talk about it. So that's what I'm saying. I think it would be a good idea to get me back on here. We can look at it. I'm going to lay this on Graham so he can look at it too, because I really want to get Graham's feedback on this.
I mean, would it be fair to say that there's an element of a rediscovery of a
Yes.
lost technology from the past?
I think it would be fair to say that. Yes.
And so through this technology, they're able to move stones or cut stones or all the above
All the above.
and even transport them.
Yes.
What is all this?
Well, this is the model, and this is diagramming all the frequencies of the elements and what their vibrational frequencies are and the numbers that measure those frequencies. And they're all the numbers we get from looking at these ancient traditions that recur over and over and over again, that I've been talking about in my sacred geometry classes for decades without knowing what the final result was going to be. So this inventor who's working with this small group contacted me, and this is what he told me. He said, you built the foundation. He said, you laid the foundation with your work on ancient geometry, and I built a house on top of it.
Wow. That's pretty crazy right there. And honestly, you need to go and check out Randall's website. His website, his YouTube channel. He does have a YouTube channel, Cosmographia with a K, I believe. And yeah, just watch some of his stuff. This guy's onto some really interesting stuff, and he brings receipts. That is one thing that drives me nuts so much in these modern times of just the way people do business anymore, is that somebody will say something, or they'll make a claim or something, but then they don't bring the receipts. They don't actually back it up with anything. Randall here and Graham, not only whenever they're doing what they're doing, do they bring the receipts? Do they bring on people that are also working on these projects and understanding them and getting information? And they know what they're talking about, and they're actually showing you and willing to show you and talk with you and engage with you. Hey, here's what we're seeing. Here's what we found. Let's talk about it, and not just, this is what I have. Believe it. Don't actually think about it. Just consume and obey. That's not the way they are. And unfortunately, at mainstream academia anymore, that's kind of the way that they are. Academia, government, all of that. So, I mean, these guys are literally putting out their own futures and livelihoods and everything on the line and saying, look, here's the information that I've found. Here's the info that I've got. And here's what I've got to show, proof of what I'm saying. Even if it's just speculation or theory, they at least bring enough evidence to kind of go, okay, I see how you made that conclusion. And then we can kind of go down the rabbit hole and, judge for ourselves. Who else does that? Because I sure as hell know that mainstream media and mainstream academia, science, they don't do that.
That's what he said.
Nice.
So for 7 years, he's been supplying me with all the information. I have copies of all the patents. I have videos of the testing of the prototypes. And Mazda, the car manufacturer in Japan, is getting ready to do a $25 million testing of some of these prototypes that they believe they can retrofit internal combustion engines with. And there's over 100, they've developed over 100 patents on some of this stuff.
Are you hearing that? This project has so much clout and so much gravity behind it that they were worried that they've had to spend 7 years in seclusion, basically in the Maldives, in, basically trying to not talk about this so that way none of their work is suppressed. And then they get their information in front of, people, and Mazda, the car manufacturer, says, hey, we want to give you $25 million to develop your ideas and show us what you can do. That's huge. That is incredibly huge. I mean, if that doesn't give you some credibility, I don't know what does.
And it's amazing.
And what would be the fuel?
Well, plasmoids. Plasmoids, as it says here, are donut or toroidal-shaped clusters of net protons or net electrons that once captured and placed into a toroidal orbit are capable of absorbing, storing, and releasing enormous amounts of energy within their self-generated and structured electromagnetic containment field. Plasmoids, in effect, function as an atomic battery that can be self-charging due to its ability to convert matter to available clean energy. So it's a lot to get into, and I think it would take us kind of off what we're here to talk about.
But
today,
at least what's promising is that there is some, at least, research or understanding.
and it's actually quite mature at this point.
Mm.
And in order to avoid the kinds of fate that befell Tesla and Reich, Robert Oppenheimer, Victor Schauberger, and so many others that were working in these fields, all kind of converging on the same insight. It's been conducted in secret. The laboratory that they've been developing this is in the Maldives, so that it's been immune from government interference. And now I think it's about ready to go to the next.
And what is the motivation of the suppressing of this information?
I think in case of Tesla, wasn't it military, the fear of military applications?
I also think that there are huge corporations that have very large investments in a particular path of
That's
technology,
Graham.
which is ours.
Right.
And for somebody to come up with a whole new path of technology, it's very threatening to them, and much better from their point of view to suppress it, or if they can't suppress it, to kind of buy it and hide it, and keep things on the track that they're on now. I would say that's the motive.
And maybe.
So that's kind of what we're talking about there. But again, that's pretty incredible. I mean, that's really mind-blowing when you get down to it. Because, I mean, it seems like everything that we've been talking about in the last, couple decades, if not more, has always somehow come around to the concept of energy and energy production. And how do we get more energy? Because our population is growing, and the population we have is constantly needing more power, more resources and whatnot. The problem is that we're hitting a point where, our demand for this stuff is going up, but the technology is kind of petering out. It's not doing what we need it to do anymore. It's kind of peaked. This could be the next major leap in human technology and just as the human species. That's exciting to me. So definitely food for thought there. I really wanted this stream to kind of, I mean, maybe not delve so much. I mean, I said I promised a lot of to talk like paranormal and pop culture. I feel like I did that with this because there's some really weird concepts that go into all this and talk about, you know, legends of like the Sphinx and that and water erosion, Robert Schoch, that kind of thing. Look, there's some really cool stuff out there. If you guys have not had a chance, please, 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 I beg of you, go to Netflix. You got Christmas break coming up. This is actually fun for the whole family. Sit down on Netflix and watch Graham Hancock's series on Netflix called Ancient Apocalypse. It's an 8-part series. Each episode is about 45 minutes long. And he really goes through a lot of information of like this talk of the past and possibility of a lost civilization. Randall makes an appearance. He explains a lot about what he's discovered in the channeled Scablands and just really painting a pretty fascinating picture of things that right now, as I said, mainstream academia is just kind of made up on it. But now here we have, in the span of a month, we have 2 major breakthroughs that are get announced with regard to power generation, and that is one of the key issues that is affecting our species right now. I mean, imagine if either like Randall, the people that he's been talking to get one of these generators into the hands of the general public. And I will mention something that I didn't actually, it wasn't in the video. I mean, it was earlier on wherever we played it from. Randall did talk about the fact that the group of people that actually have developed this technology for this generator with no moving parts, they've decided that once they have verified everything, they're going to open source all of their information. They're going to put it out there, open source, so that it cannot be suppressed again, like the way that they believe it was previously. And I'm inclined to believe them. If that is the case, like I said, again, this could revolutionize the human race. The same way this new information with nuclear fusion, because you can't just have one specific method of power generation. You're going to need multiple different types. Imagine if both of these get off the ground, we suddenly have extremely powerful, potent forms of safe, clean, and effective energy that no longer requires, fossil fuel to keep it running all the time. That's huge. Now, again, I'm totally on board for, because currently, as things stand, fossil fuels are the most efficient and best source of energy production that we have. You're not getting in your car and doing a road trip out, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles across country, in your electric car, your Tesla, whereas you could pull your car like your, just gasoline powered car off on the side of the road at a gas station, fill her up, and you're off to the races again, heading on your way. Another reason why I would really love to see with automobiles, especially looking more toward hydrogen, if we still require some sort of fuel-based system like that. Hydrogen is the most abundant element in the entire universe. Every star you see in the sky is made out of it. It's just balls of hydrogen burning in the sky. Water is literally 2 hydrogen atoms and or 2 hydrogen molecules and a water molecule or oxygen molecule just smacked together. Or water is 2 water atoms and 1 oxygen atom, and they make a molecule. It's late. I'm tired. It's late. I'm tired. I've drank a 22 ounce of God only knows how high of alcohol beer this is. I've got to contend with getting packed for Christmas and doing all the usual this and that and whatever, running around like a crazy person, packing up, boxes, wrapping presents, and then getting all that stuff ready. And then on top of that, I have a 2-year-old and an impending blizzard on the way, apparently, because the National Weather Service can't figure out what the hell it wants to do. So, yeah. Grant me a little slack. All right, guys. It's been an hour and 7 minutes. I've hit a lot of the topics that I really meant to talk about today. Sorry we didn't get to do any painting, but this is just kind of something different I wanted to do for a while. But, all right. I am currently not planning to do a stream on Thursday. There's just, stuff going on. And, Thursday we're supposed to be heading down to my folks' house for Christmas, doing all that fun stuff. And then we're coming back. Hopefully we're going to be coming back not in the middle of a blizzard. But yeah, it's going to be a fun weekend. And then, of course, yeah, if I do end up doing something on Thursday, I'll keep everybody notified. I don't think anything's going to happen, but if I can get any interest in it, I mean, maybe I can get me and my brother on. We can talk movies or something. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Please definitely go down there, hit the like button, and if you like what I do, hit the subscribe button. Come out and check me out because we do new videos every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we usually we paint miniatures. But tonight I wanted to do something a little bit different. So if you came for the painting stuff, go check out some of my other previous streams because I do and we have a lot of time, a lot of fun. But anyway, again, folks, my name is Kaiser Pineapple. Thank you so much for coming out here. Thank you so much for being a part of this. And you have a great rest of your night, great evening, and have a fantastic Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever the hell it is that you celebrate. Happy Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever, Festivus. I don't give a flying frick. All right. Enjoy whatever you're doing. Have a great day. Thank you so much. Bye, guys.